asked for feedback on the priorities that were outlined in the original survey, and wanted to make sure we had as much voice and involvement as possible. And we had well over 600, almost 700 responses throughout this process, confirming these 7 priorities in front of you on this slide. So the second through 7th items are the ones came from the original survey, and then as a part of our outreach, we added that very first one. Of course, our community is very strongly supportive of our teachers attracting and retaining high qualified staff throughout our district, and the 2nd through 7th priority areas seem to be in alignment with supporting our staff in doing what they wish to do. But these priorities have continued to be confirmed with hundreds of our community members responding, and we really appreciate everyone who took the time to provide us this input and help us identify these priorities. And so some of the talking points and questions and answers that have come out of the outreach include things like this. How old are our schools? What is the need really? And as we know, some of our schools and facilities are over 70 years old and need repairs. And so no matter how wonderful our maintenance team is in putting them together and supporting and maintaining them, it doesn't replace with brand new. And when we look at funding and resources to build a new school, that's not in our annual budget opportunities, and so we need to look at how do we service schools that are aging and in need of such significant repairs. Another question we get often is, why does this matter? If our folks are older, their students are grown up, they're no longer in our schools, why would they care about these priorities? And here are some of the talking points that we've used. We know that quality schools help all of us. It helps all of the businesses in our community attract and retain their employees. It's a great place to live and work when you have thriving schools. We also know by retaining that skilled workforce, it helps our economy. Great schools help our property values. There's some real tangible benefits in addition to just a vibrant economy that we all get to benefit from. And what about our amazing base and our partnership? Of course, that is a big support, and in the plans that we'll be sharing with you this evening, there's a critical opportunity with the Department of Defense prioritizing our schools at the top of the list for federal funding. And we need to come up with a 20% match in order to build a brand new elementary school and stretch our dollars and our taxpayer dollars as much as possible. And we're looking for, we're making action plans around how do we do that with this time-sensitive opportunity, because they have told us if we don't come up with that match, they will allocate those funds to other districts. And right now our timeline is such that we basically have until January to tell them, yes, we have a 20% match. We currently have the funds earmarked for us and for our schools, but they will be reallocated if we don't come up with our own 20% match commitment by January. And we know we're doing great things in our schools, and so we just have one highlight there is our Purple Star designation at Richmond. Even without their new building, they're doing great things for students and their families, and we'll just continue to accelerate that. And we'd love to do that in a wonderful facility that's state-of-the-art for our students and for their learning. And so all of this outreach has resulted in what you have before you this evening in 11.1 is a bond proposal. And what I'd like to do is call out some of the language that's directly in that item. People can see the full text themselves, but just to highlight some of that. And so what you have on the screen here, and I won't read this entire statement, but this is what we're proposing would be the 75-word statement on the ballot. If you count it up, the way registrars of voters count 75 words is a little different than I might, because United States Department of Defense is one word. Sierra Sands Unified School District, these proper nouns. So just in case anyone's counting those words, there are some nuances that we've carefully researched. But this is essentially what we're wanting to do, and what I'd like to highlight is that each of these things that we're planning are directly from the priorities that our community helped us to outline and to identify. that upgrading older schools, ensuring school safety and earthquake preparedness, fixing and replacing leaky roofs, windows, plumbing. We couldn't fit air conditioning in there just with a number of words, but all of these things, this is the digest version, and then we have the full text version as well to show exactly what it is that we propose to do. Should the board this evening choose to put this on the ballot, and then ultimately it becomes up to the voters in our community should they choose to support this, should they find that this does indeed align with the priorities that they helped us to identify. And so on this slide, again, I won't read everything, but I just call out the accountability measures and protections. In talking with our community, we know that's very important. Of course, there's annual independent performance audit and independent financial audit, as well as an citizens oversight committee, all built into the expectations. And the bond dollars could only be used for the items listed in the bond measure. And I'll show you that list as well, because we've tried to be very specific, clear, and transparent. There's no hidden language in here. And so again, we also could qualify for state funds that may stretch our dollars further. We're not expecting that in our plans, but we're going to get as much done for our community as possible should this go forward. And the measure shall be used only for construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, or replacement, along with those related costs of school facilities, no district facilities, nothing along those lines, not for any other purpose, including teacher or administrator salaries or operating expenses. So this is a facility-focused bond, and we do have a list of what those projects might be. And it starts, there's 3 categories in the full bond text. The first category is calling out those community priorities, what the bond dollars can be spent on. So you'll see those 6 items are directly from the surveys and the community outreach. The second set is what we're calling Tier 1, some of the specific projects that we would be starting with on these bond dollars should this go forward, and rebuilding a brand new Viewig Elementary School. And as we know, we're looking at a K-8 building to be able to support our new Viewig STEM Academy magnet. That would be the very first point. And knowing that 80% of that can be paid by Department of Defense dollars, as long as this comes in the right timeline and we qualify to stretch these dollars. We also have on here updating, upgrading, renovating, and repairing Pierce. It is not currently confirmed if the Department of Defense grant will also cover Pierce. If it does, that's fabulous, because we could stretch our dollars even more, pay 20 cents on the dollar. If not, we would have sufficient bond money to still do that project, because those are the 2 schools that were up next. If funding, let's say the state match comes in, the Department of Defense dollars stretch, if other funds are available in the bond after those 2 projects, we could update additional classrooms and science labs. We could also look at Inyo Kern, which would be then our remaining school needing significant updates. And this is all what we would consider in our Tier 1 response with the bond. And should everything go forward and fabulous and us have additional funding, we have a Tier 2 list. Now, we're not holding our breath that Tier 2 we would get to that with this level of bond funding, but we wanted to be very clear. We did not want to put, and any other projects, right? We didn't want to just leave it open-ended. We wanted to be very specific. If those bond dollars are able to stretch to the maximum, if we're getting state and federal matching and we're stretching these dollars, what would we use them for? This is the full and complete list between these 3 categories that we would anticipate using the bond dollars for. And so with that, I would like to invite Mr. Michael Turnipseed to join virtually. He was at a meeting earlier today with Kern Tax. We've been working carefully with the Taxpayers Association throughout this process and appreciate their partnership. And so I believe we're going to see him on our side screens here And I'm going to just check with our IT folks in the back if we can make that happen. But he would like to address you as far as the partnership that we've had in this process. And I know we have a number of people in the audience that I'll acknowledge in a moment. But if Mr. Turnipseed is with us, we'd love to show him. Michael, are you there? I don't see that. While we wait for him, I would like to acknowledge we have two consultants that have been part of our team here with us tonight, should you have additional questions. And that's our bond attorney, Stacy Toledo, and Rhonda Amori, our community outreach consultants. They're here in case there are questions or discussion points that we would benefit from their guidance. And then we have a number of parents and staff members in the audience who are also invested and have been a part of this journey in one way or another. Many have provided the input in helping us to come up with the priorities. Many were on the Facilities and Programs Advisory Council, helping to look at the data and understand what are we doing as a district and what might our needs be. And so I believe they'll be coming forward when we open up this item for discussion. But at this point, are there any questions for myself or our consultants here?
Any questions from anyone? I don't think so.
One last call for Mr. Turnipseed. Is he with us? Does not look like it. So I will then share his news. It's hot off the press. The Kern Tax Board at noon today had their board meeting. And at their meeting today, they voted unanimously to endorse our school bond. They're very supportive and they appreciated us and our government financial services team working with them on the modeling, looking at how do we stretch these dollars and issue bonds in the most fiscally responsible and effective way. And so we're very pleased to have their support and partnership and their commitment along as we go through, should this go forward, they are committed to helping partner with us throughout the process to ensure we're doing it in the most fiscally responsible manner for our community. So I apologize that the technology, he must not be here, but he was with us in spirit. So.
Okay. Any questions of Dr. Moore's presentation from the board? Any comments?
Yeah, I guess I'll thank you for the diligence in pulling together all that information. When we talked about this last, about the community outreach results, I was pleased that we had about 300 people surveyed. That was pretty good, but I was thinking it could have been better, and to hear that that's now twice as broad as it's been, we've got a much better sense of what the community's thinking. I think that's a big help in helping guide us. So thanks to everybody who worked really hard to make that happen.
Any other questions or comments from board members? I guess I would just like to comment. I do really appreciate the method that has been used to try and determine exactly what our needs are, how we can best meet those needs of our students, and how we can best leverage the dollars that are available to us so that we can get the most for our students. Clearly, we have a local responsibility to participate, and I think this 80-20 match is certainly better than any other entity offers us. And I think it is certainly appropriate that this board gives the opportunity to our community to support this. I think we can make it clear that this would offer excellent improvement in what we have in our facilities in a way that's manageable and in a way that we could not any other way accomplish. And in the end, it's going to be the choice of the community if this is what they wish to do. But I think we've laid it out very well. We've researched it well to try and figure out what the best ways to do are. And I appreciate the hard work, and I am hopeful that the community will recognize exactly the value here and be supportive. Any other questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public on this item? I'm sorry, walk up to the microphone here, state your name, this microphone right here, and share your thoughts. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Matthew Godwin, 335 West Pilgrim Circle. You stated the grand plan if we get the bond measure passed. What's the grand plan if we don't? What's the plan if the citizens decide they don't want to be assessed more money for Sierra Sands Unified School District? Because that's the #1 assessment on my tax bill every year, is Sierra Sands. It outweighs the Kern County Fire Department. By and large, it's the #1 reason I pay taxes to Kern County. So what's the plan if there's no money?
Dr. Moore, would you like to address that?
We will cross that bridge in November, but we will not be able to do most of the things on the list. And if we do, we would have to decide if there are other funding options. Our commitment has been to do it in the most fiscally responsible manner. We're not big fans of loans and other things, but there may be other opportunities for us to take advantage of the Department of Defense funding, which is something that will not be available to us after this time period. And so that is our first priority, is to get the matching funds. And we do not have $20 million right now to get matching funds to build a new school. And so we will look to see if there are other options at that point.
Thank you. And I was involved in part of the manner with Murray School development, and I watched the money come in and go out for Murray School development and building, and frankly, what I see, I'm not satisfied with. Looks like a juvenile detention facility. They did not listen to City Planning Commission advice or guidance. I see one of your big bullet points up there was to fix the pickup and drop off at Murray Middle School. That was something that was raised before the school was ever built. They chose not to do it because, well, we don't have to. We don't have to follow city guidelines. We don't have to follow any of your rules. So I hope there's a little bit of understanding and responsibility in how we do this, that it meets the community needs. The jungle that is Murray Burroughs right now is a travesty, and that could have all been avoided for a couple $100,000 out of your overhead or out of the 10% budget. But that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the public on this item? Please walk up to the microphone and state your name. We have 3 minutes.
It's a little different being down here. You guys. Hi, so good afternoon, good evening, members of the board. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle Blades. I'm actually on the city council, so I'll just face the squad, huh? Okay. So I try to keep abreast of everything going on in the community. It's going to affect the community at large. I want to have my fingers on the pulse. I want to understand what's going on, and I think that this falls right into that category. And in my conversations with parents, which are a lot, I find that in the community, the most engaged people are parents. Not just parents, you have a lot of caregivers. Sorry, I'm used to talking to everybody, so this is awkward, but yeah, there we go. I'll just... So it's parents. Parents are usually the most involved, whether it's caregivers, it's aunts, it's uncles, it's grandparents. It's people care about kids. Evidence of all the people who are here tonight more than anything. And so I think it seems to me rather obvious that you have done your work, Dr. Moore, the staff, to look into this. If there were concerns raised before, that's good to know. That's healthy, and I'm sure you guys are moving forward with this, but it makes the most sense to me, logically, that the investment in the future, which are our children, infrastructure is a huge part of that. A lot of these conversations that I have with parents, they're talking about what are teachers teaching my kids? Or what are other kids doing to my kids? What's the environment like? There's a lot of huge concern all the time, and I'm saying that in a very positive way. It's good. It is good. People should care a lot more than they, do about other things. And I think that infrastructure is not always right in our face. When things are falling down, it's not something that it's just not right there. It's not like when our kid got in a fight, or we felt that a teacher was being unfair, or all of the things that you guys face constantly, and especially you guys face. So that is what I came up here to do. When I heard about this effort going on, and I know you've gone through the community conversation, I'm adamantly in support of this being on the ballot. I have learned to trust the voter. The voters will tell you their priorities. If this is a priority to them, they will tell you, and they'll be honest about it. So I give you my full support, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the public on this item? Okay, then we will move to 11.1. Adoption of Resolution Number 2, 2425, ordering a school bond election, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024. Ms. Smith.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Moore, community and staff. I'm not going to read the whole background because I think it was well covered in the briefs that Dr. Moore just gave. But pursuant to California Constitution and Education Code, school districts may seek approval of a general obligation bond measure upon a 55% vote of those voting on a proposition for the purpose, provided certain accountability measures are included in the proposition. Such bond election must be conducted concurrent with a statewide primary election, a general election, or special election, or at a regularly scheduled local election. On November 5th, 2024, a primary election is scheduled to occur throughout the district. For the board to execute such authorization, a board resolution must be adopted to order a bond election in the district on November 5th, 2024, asking district voters to approve the issuance of a general obligation bonds in the amount of $42 million, levying 6 cents per $100,000 of assessed value, raising $3.1 million annually while bonds are outstanding, with no money for administrators, all funds benefiting local schools, required audits, and citizens' oversight. The attached resolution orders such an election. The resolution includes the actual ballot language to appear on the ballot, a project list of the proposed capital projects, a tax rate statement which sets the average and highest tax rates to be applicable to the bonds. In addition, the resolution requests consolidation with other elections held on November 5th and requests the services of the County Registrar of Voters. The bonds, if approved and issued, will be payable from an ad valorem tax assessed against the real property in the district, and such bonds will not be an obligation of the district. It is estimated that the costs associated with the bond measure will not exceed $75,000, and funding for that will come from Fund 01, the general fund. It is recommended that the board adopt Resolution Number 2, 2425, ordering a school bond election, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024, as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? I guess I will just reiterate that I think it is critical that we give the opportunity to our voters to support this. I believe the plan is well thought out. I do know there are a lot of concerns as we build new circumstances and new facilities, and a lot of requirements by our government, especially the federal government, about what we can do that is based on security issues. And unfortunately, often that's how come we end up with a facility that looks like a detention center instead of a school. But there are certain blast force requirements and all those kinds of things that have to be followed. And in order to get that $100 million, that's got to work. So this is an opportunity for us. I believe we need to make it available to the community, and I believe our district will benefit significantly, and our community will benefit significantly if the community chooses to support it. Any other questions or comments from board members? Kurt?
Yeah, I think I'll add a little bit to this. And this kind of for Matt a little bit. Appreciate your comments very much. And to kind of add to what Mr. Ferris had to say about the force protection issues You know, the toughest thing about construction, these projects that are school construction on the base, is we have to meet the all the force protection, you know, Navy regulations for construction for these, and we also have to meet the Department of State Architects school construction requirements, and we have to put them together because they're not the same, and that just really escalates the cost of doing these things. So we get everything we can for the dollars that we are provided to do these things, and you know, given the constraints, I think we've done a pretty good job. Not everybody loves the way Murray looks, but when I think about, you know, what's there and what goes on that campus and the capabilities that are there within that campus, it really is a good place. And we would do nothing less than that in anything else that we would do. And I think the other thing that, you know, why I'm, you know, going to vote in favor of this is we need to do this, and we need to get it done. Not to belittle Dr. Moore's comments, but to the question, what do we do if this doesn't pass? I think she painted a rosier picture of what the possibilities are than there really are. I mean, the likelihood that we're going to find some magical pot of gold somewhere that's going to help us do this is not significant. If we want to do even a small fraction of what's on that list, we're going to have to borrow money. So, and it's not going to be as much money as this bond would give us. So it's going to be much more expensive and much less effective at best. So I'm very much in favor of doing that. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments, board members?
Well, I'd just like to say that, you know, it's not very often that we get the ability to get a brand new school. And with the part coming up that Dr. Moore said that if we don't take the opportunity by January, they'll just move on to the next area that needs a school. And yes, there's a lot of things that we get taxed on in Ridgecrest, and whether it's a pool, whether it's the police, whether it's the fire, they're all very important. And I think education is right up there with those people and those things that we've already approved. And I understand that sometimes it's frustrating that you look on your property taxes and you see this thing for whether it's trash, whether it's, you know, a 1% tax for the police or the pool or whatever. But our kids are important, and you know that as well as I do. And I just don't think we can pass up this opportunity to have a brand new school taken care of. So, thank you.
Yeah, just any other board members wish to speak? Go ahead, then you can.
Yeah, sorry to hog the mic tonight. I guess a couple other thoughts that came to mind is we tried something similar to this a few years ago that didn't go well, and I think hopefully what the community will see and what's in here now specifically addressed the real heavy hitter concerns that people had before. You know, they saw what we had before as an open-ended, you know, blank check, where this one is very specific about a specific list of things, and those are the only things that we will do. It's just, you know, I think every criticism that came out back then, to the best of our ability, has been addressed. So this is a much tighter, cleaner, hopefully palatable approach than what you've seen before. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments from members of the public? If not, I will move the item. I'd call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to item 4, public hearing. There is no public hearing, so it brings us to item 5, reports and communication. Item 1, reports from members of the board. Any board members have anything they'd like to report? I would just like to report that unfortunately I did miss last month's meeting. Had an important family engagement, but I really missed specifically that I was not able to be here as we honored our executive individual who services the board, Diane Naslin. She served us for many years, and I was sorry that I wasn't able to be here for that. And then Captain Vaughn as well. Captain Vaughn has been very, very supportive of our school district over the years. He's been here in a way that I haven't seen ever before from the command at the base, and I just want to make sure that it's understood that I absolutely appreciate what support he's been, and he's been very instrumental in helping us move forward with this funding on the potential funding for our school as well. So that's what I have to add. If there are no others, we'll go to item 2, the superintendent's report. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, President Ferris. Our month 10 enrollment was 4,957 students. Last year, this time was 5,100, so we are down 44 year to date. And we saw a drop in attendance for month 10 from the prior year, a drop of 3.8%. So these are things that we are looking at and will be seeking to address and working with our families and staff in the new school year. I would like to welcome Mrs. Kim Kramer on her first of many board meetings in her new role as Administrative Secretary to the Superintendent. So while we've seen her up here before helping to fill in, this is her first official, and so welcome, Kim. Summer school concluded in early July, along with the extended school year program and the High Desert Leaping Lizard summer program. We appreciate all of the staff involved who provided powerful learning opportunities and fun times for our students through these programs. I recently got back from the USC Breakthrough Leadership Institute, where I attended with a team from the district, including administrators and teacher leaders representing Monroe and Murray, as we sought to jointly plan how to engage our community, starting with students, on the reimagining of junior high, as we look at bringing the two schools together into a new junior high concept a year from now. We've been doing a lot of action planning, and we look forward to sharing the ideas and plans outlined by the team with our students, families, and staff once everyone returns to campuses. I would like to thank and commend the board on a robust and thoughtful self-evaluation process that we went through earlier this month. Our governance team is working together and growing in our leadership, and I look forward to leading alongside each of you in these times as we seek to continue to meet the needs of our students and staff. I am looking forward to welcoming our leaders back. July 29th, we'll have a leadership team retreat. And then all staff will be coming back at the end of July or early August, depending on their report times. And our all-hands meeting will be August 5th, which is always a fun time of getting everyone together, or almost everyone who's able to join us. We look forward to launching our district's Portrait of a Graduate together and serving students in classrooms across the district beginning August 6th, our first day of school, which will happen between now and our next board meeting. So thank you. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you.
Can I go out of order real quick, just because I noticed? You mentioned Captain Vaughn and what a great job he did for us. I noticed that Captain Van Allen is here with us tonight. That's JV's relief, and we're honored to have him with us, and thank you for your support, sir.
And thank you for being here. And thank you. That brings us to item 3, communications from the public. The board will provide time during the discussion of each agenda item for members of the public to comment. But at this time, members of the public may address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Comments should relate to items of public interest within the board's jurisdiction. The law does prohibit the board from taking action items that are not on the agenda, but if appropriate, your comments will be referred to staff for response. When addressing the board, please state your name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. In accordance with the board bylaws, the board will limit the total time for public input to 30 minutes. Those wishing to address the board beyond that 30-minute time limit may do so at the end of the scheduled board meeting if it exceeds that. So if you'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda, please step up to the microphone and share your thoughts. Okay, seeing none, we will move to educational administration. Sorry.
I'm used to going to this.
Yeah. We'll just make you walk a little further.
So I, for some reason, communications from.
Your name first.
My name is Kathy McCoy.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'm actually, right now, it doesn't say on there communications from Data and CSEA. So,
If you'd like to share, typically they haven't been here in the summer, so we didn't agendize them, but you're welcome to speak on that.
okay, I'm going to
Capacity.
tell you what, I'm speaking for
Okay.
Eileen.
Okay.
And so she wanted me to, first of all, hello, good evening, President Ferris, Superintendent Moore, members of the board. She wanted me to make sure that you knew that Data supports the bonds, that we are, for anything that will help to improve facilities and tools that will help our students be successful in their educational careers. And, you know, who can forget the sign, "We appreciate the teachers," in front of the porta potties. We know that we need some facilities work. So she wanted me to make sure that I said that. And she also wanted me to say that we were a little surprised to see the bonus for Dr. Moore. I
Okay,
know
so
it
if you wish to address that, you'll need to address that during the specific item.
even if it's on
Yeah,
Eileen's time?
exactly.
Okay, I'll skip that
All right,
until
thank
later. And the last thing was that we are hoping that as we go through with the combination of the middle schools, that the contract will be adhered to and transition will be smooth. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other members of the public that would like to address the board at this time on issues not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to educational administration, approval of contract with Wiggles and Giggles Physical Therapist. Mr. Delbeck.
President Ferris, Dr. Moore, members of the school board and members of the community. Approval of contract with Wiggles and Giggles Physical Therapist. Just good to say the name. The district is requesting permission to enter in a contract for part-time services for physical therapists for the 24-25 school year. The therapist will partner with the district to conduct assessments, consult with staff regarding students' needs, provide written reports, assist in procuring appropriate equipment for students, attend IEP meetings, and provide some ongoing physical therapy with district students. Financial implications, the cost for the physical therapist services is $80 per hour and will provide services for 10 hours per week for the contracted school year, and costs are not to exceed $86,000 for the school year. This will be funded through the SELPA budget. It is recommended that the board approve the contract with Giggles and Wiggles as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Recommended action has been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions or comments from board members on this item? Any questions or comments from members of the public on this item or staff? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Delbeck.
Sure.
Item 2, approval of contract with 321 Insight.
321 Insight was founded by clinical psychologists with over 60 years combined experience working in K-12 schools. 321 Insight materials offer relevant, easy to implement, and immediately applicable best practices to make educators more successful in supporting students and gives paraprofessionals essential skills to be more effective with students. 321 Insight also offers in-person and virtual professional development for paraprofessionals, teachers, and leaders that can be customized to meet the specific needs of each school or district partner. Each hands-on or interactive session is flexibly designed to accommodate the school district schedules, needs, and priorities with supporting resources and effective strategies that can be implemented right away to support all students. The cost for the Professional Development Series will not exceed $12,750 and will be funded through the SELPA budget. It is recommended the board approve the contract for 321 Insight for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Recommended action has been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second accepted. Any questions or comments from board members on this item? Kurt?
Let's see, I noticed, well, the board header says $12,750. The material attached indicated a lot of options above and beyond that. Is that just sort of the menu, and do we have any intention of using any of the other products at this time, or?
The intention this time is to have the virtual on-demand service, which is $85 per the paraprofessional at approximately 150 paraprofessionals. So that's what we're going to go with for this school year and see how it goes. It's going to offer us flexibility if we hire a new paraprofessional, in the middle of October, and we don't have training until December. They could take the courses that evening, and we can pay them for hours to be trained before they enter the classroom. So this is our first year partnership with them, and as we do with every vendor partner, we evaluate the situation and we'll see what for the following school year. But right now, yes, there's and we may come to you and say, hey, we want to add on this or this. But right now, the intention is to have the ParaSharp PD service for 12 months.
And how have we done the training for the pairs in the past?
We do a training in August, then we'll do one in December. We did a Winter Institute, and then we do one closing at the year.
And are those taught by our local?
Local staff,
Staff.
myself included, yes.
Okay. Are you still going to do those in addition to this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you.
Dr. Moore,
Yeah,
do you have a
I'll just add that this has been one of the requests because so often we have people hired throughout the year and we just send them into a classroom. So at least this is a start to making sure that each staff member working with our students is prepared in advance. And so it will be added to the process rather than instead of those other trainings.
Any other questions or comments from board members on this item? Any questions or comments from members of the public on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to item 3, approval of advanced metal fabrication course at Burroughs High School. Dr. Savko.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, staff and community. Advanced Metal Fabrication is a year-long course for 12th grade students who have completed the CTE or Career Technical Education Welding and Materials Joining Pathway, Metal 1, 2, and 3, with a grade of C or better. This course provides the next level of experience and training in critical thinking and leadership pertaining to welding and material fabrication skills. This course meets the A through G college entrance requirements as G as a college preparatory elective. There aren't any financial implications because this is essentially Metal 4, which will be offered in tandem with Metal 3, same textbook, no additional employee costs, some minor materials costs, which is well worth it. It's recommended that the board approve advanced metal fabrication as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved in, looks like multiple seconds. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public?
I was just gonna say.
Go ahead, Mary, I'm sorry.
I'm really happy to see this. The advancement of classes and moving on for our kids. I'm liking that.
I agree.
Okay. Any other comments from board members? I'm sorry, Mary, I didn't catch it earlier. Any comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 7, Policy Review Committee. Item 1, approval of updated board policies, administrative regulations. Dr. Moore and
Thank you.
myself, I
The committee met on July 11th with a number of updates to policies, regulations, one deletion that doesn't exist in the gamut model policies from the California school boards that's unnecessary but is still being done. And so you'll see a variety of topics from updating our acceptable use policies for technology to the conflict of interest code that we're required to review every 2 years and certify with the registrar of voters, to district schools of choice. And as we look to add our schools of choice, that was an important policy to get updated and make sure our policies are going to be followed as we go forward. So we have a number of those. We did add in the minutes kind of the broad highlights of the discussion from the committee, but the committee members and I are happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members on those notes or what was discussed or what we recommended? Okay, then do I have a motion to?
Move the recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on those policies from members of the public or staff? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to Personnel Administration, 8.1, report to the board, quarterly report of the Williams uniform complaints. Mr. Ault.
Don't mind, I'll sit so that I can be heard in the microphone. Now I can be heard in the microphone. The Williams lawsuit settlement legislation requires the district's designee to submit a quarterly report to the governing board and the county superintendent of schools summarizing the nature and resolution of complaints addressing insufficient textbooks and instructional materials, teacher vacancies and misassignments, emergency or urgent facility issues. There are no findings for this quarter. The attached report will be forwarded to the Kern County Superintendent of Schools as required by state law. There is no financial implications, and this item is just informational and for reporting purposes only.
Thank you. We will receive that report and move to item 2, adoption of resolution number 4, 2425, certification of the nature of appointment of Randy Coit and necessity of CalPERS 180-day wait period exemption. Mr. Ault.
So with regards to this particular item, in June you heard, or you approved, I should say, a resolution regarding Mr. Coit. The reason for bringing it back to you is that it was determined we needed to make a formal clarification that Mr. Coit would not be working in the capacity of a contractor. Instead, he'll be a retired annuitant. The two are very different in scope and requirements and so forth. And so the reason for bringing this back to you is simply to clarify that he is not a contractor. He works for the school district as a retired annuitant. So it is recommended the board adopt resolution 4, 2425 as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from the board members on this item? Any questions or comments from members of the public on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That moves us to item 4, approval of the 25-26 academic calendar. Oh, I skipped one, didn't I? I'm sorry. Item 3, waiver request enabling the district to assign individuals in certificated administrative positions without appropriate credentials.
Approval of the governing board is required when a district is filing for a variable term waiver, provisional internship permit, or short-term staff permit in order to assign an individual who is not yet credentialed for his or her assignment. Specifically this evening, these are some of our administrators that are finishing their administrative credential. There are no financial implications. The recommendation is to approve the submission of requests for a variable term waiver, provisional intern permit, or a short-term staff permit in order that the above-named individuals may be assigned in the designated positions for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members on this item? Questions or comments from members of the public or staff? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Now we come to item 4, approval of the 25-26 academic calendar. Mr. Ault.
The District Calendar Committee meets annually to develop recommendations from staff to submit an academic calendar for board approval. Committee members represent data, CSEA, DAGA, management, as well as elementary, middle, and high school grade spans. Academic calendars provide the following information to staff, students, parents, and community members. The number of instructional days, the holidays, minimum days, and in-service days. The academic calendar for the 25-26 school year is a similar reflection of traditional calendars that have typically been implemented in the past. The committee created 2 calendar options for the bargaining unit members to consider. Classified staff members will continue to work the first workday in June for their CalPERS full year service credit. The 25-26 academic calendar has school beginning on August 7th, 2025 and ending on May 28th, 2026. It should be noted that the district will continue with 3 non-student professional development days that are funded using LCFF concentration funds in the proposed calendar. These PD days are placed in August and October. In your packet, you can see each of the minimum day schedules and the holidays. Financial implications, there are none. It is recommended that the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education approve the 2025-26 academic calendar as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members on this calendar? Any questions or comments from members of the public on the calendar? Yes.
Brian Williams. I've been teaching the district 30 plus years, but it seemed to be the first 10 years or so that we would start the week before Labor Day, and then we'd have Labor Day off, and then we'd go for the school year. Kind of a traditional thing, but somewhere along the line, these dates just started changing. Now, I know last year, this year, and next year it sounds like we're kind of the same, but I'm just wondering why that is. It just seems so unpredictable for parents to make a plan for their summer, and I'm just wondering how we got so far away from those dates. And I don't know if anybody can really answer that or not, but it just seems like each year it's kind of changes from a start date to an end date, and we had this pattern going. It seemed like it worked, but for some reason it was changed. And I just again, just thinking well, my kids are all grown now, but I know it was just difficult to kind of plan out the summers because things just started changing. I even know a teacher that had a timeshare kind of later in the middle of August, and she wasn't even able to go to it as it started changing. You know, you make these plans in your life, and then the calendars kept changing. So I don't know, just a question.
Brian, could you kind of answer that question?
I can. So you might recall about 15 or 20 years ago when the semester would end 2 weeks after winter break. So students would go to winter break, and then they would have a week of classes, and then they would have finals.
Sure.
Where we moved it, and it's not just this issue, but it's mostly this issue, is so that we could finish the semester before going on winter break.
Okay.
The consideration being learning loss over the 2 weeks,
Sure.
and then having a cumulative final. And to do that, we had to move things up. And I will also say that it also has to do, especially at the high school level, with interscholastic athletics, which have also been pushed to start sooner and sooner and sooner.
Sure. And I know even as a swim coach for the years at Burroughs, we would sometimes be competing during our spring break where other teams were in. So I mean, everybody has these different schedules. We had a 3-week Christmas break the last couple, 2 years ago or whatever it was, but just seemed, I think, isn't the second semester a little longer than the first semester?
Yeah, but we try to keep it as close as we can,
Okay.
knowing that the second semester will have testing days.
Okay, so it's just kind of a wondering that I had all of you here, and I thought, yeah, okay. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the public on this item?
I had a question.
Yes, Robert.
Has the amount of holidays changed since the last couple of years? Because I know 1 year, I think it was it this year, we had 3 weeks at Christmas, and it looks on this one that we have 2.5 weeks. Does that change the date of when we start because we have more? Is it more holidays, or is it just we got rid of some and added some? Or?
No, there's only been one holiday added in the last several years that doesn't impact our academic calendar. That's the Juneteenth holiday. We have an obligation to hold 180 instructional days, and we're permitted and we have discretion to determine how to do that and where to do that. So there hasn't been a holiday added, but you can be creative. There are many districts that have 2-week spring breaks or a fall break. We did that some years ago. So we have that discretion built in so long as you get to 180 days. And if you have more non-instructional days embedded, then yeah, it'll either push you to start earlier or finish
Right.
later.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board on this item or the public on this item? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. That brings us to item 5, approval of amendment to the superintendent's contract. So I'll be introducing this item. One of the most important jobs of the Board of Education is to hire, evaluate, establish a good, strong working relationship with, and guiding and developing a long-term relationship with a good, strong leader to guide a district. It is with that specific motivation that the board met to do its annual evaluation of the superintendent, and then subsequently met with the superintendent to share the findings of that evaluation and discuss then the points of strength and the points of concern and the points of guidance of how to move the district forward. And then by virtue of that meeting, the board then met with the superintendent to develop a amendment to the contract based on those objectives. So this particular item is in regards to that intent, and the law is very specific about how this needs to be reported, so I'm going to read out the legal report of exactly what this means. The First Amendment to Dr. Moore's contract revises her April 20th, 2023 employment contract. The First Amendment increases Dr. Moore's salary to $249,075 for the 24-25 school year and includes a superintendent's salary schedule for the 24-25 school year. The First Amendment notes that the superintendent's salary schedule may be revised in the future years, resulting in increased compensation to the superintendent, including retroactive salary payments effective July 1st of the school year in which the board revises the salary schedule. The First Amendment extends the terms of Dr. Moore's employment contract through the end of the 26-27 school year and provides for further one-year extensions so long as the superintendent receives satisfactory or better performance evaluations. The First Amendment provides Dr. Moore with a one-time 10% off-schedule bonus based on her 23-24 salary of $225,000, valued at $22,500, subject to regular withholdings. The one-time off-schedule bonus shall be paid to Dr. Moore no later than August 9th, 2024. The First Amendment notes that Dr. Moore will receive 24 vacation days per year, that she will be paid for up to 10 earned but unused vacation days per year. Earned but not unused vacation days will be paid at the superintendent's daily rate that is in effect at the time that she makes her request for payment for those unused vacation days. With the exception of the revisions I mentioned, the First Amendment leaves the other terms of Dr. Moore's employment contract unchanged. Specifically, Dr. Moore may continue to access the medical, dental, and vision benefits available to the other certificate employees. She will also continue to receive reimbursement for ordinary expenses and district-paid AXA dues. Dr. Moore will also have continued access to the district cell phone and laptop or tablet. Dr. Moore will also continue to receive 1 sick day per month, and the board-approved holidays and personal necessity, bereavement, and other leaves provided to other district certificated management employees. Finally, Dr. Moore may access CSBA's Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs if the board approves her participation in these programs. So the recommended action is to authorize the First Amendment to the superintendent's contract as presented and discussed. Are there any questions or comments from board members on this item?
Move recommended action.
Recommended action has been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members on this item? No? Kurt?
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of confusion about this from what I've been hearing, and I think the one-time bonus seems to be one of the big sticking points, I guess, in the discussions that I've had. And what I hope will be clear is that, you know, all of our staff came in at the beginning of 23-24 at a level, as did Dr. Moore. Based on negotiations, the vast majority of our staff got an 8% on schedule and a 2% off schedule increase, which, you know, 8% on schedule means that actually raises your salary, that goes towards your retirement, you know, all those good things. That's not how we provided that sort of 8 plus 2% to Dr. Moore. We did it as a single bonus, therefore it does not impact her retirement. So it's actually not as powerful. It's a good chunk of money, but it's not as powerful from a growth in your salary journey as it would be if it was a on-schedule kind of bonus. So that piece sort of matches up with what we've done for everybody else. So I'm okay with that from that logic. I think that's a reasonable way to look at it, and just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from board members on this item? Any other questions or comments from members of the public on this item? Please step up to the microphone, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to comment. Thank you so much.
Kathy McCoy.
Thank
I'm
you,
back.
Kathy.
Can I make a clarification on that? Actually, we were discussing that at a data meeting. That was the 22-23 school year, that 8%. It's just negotiations went further. We were talking about it at lunch yesterday, so we might want to just make sure that that's correct. It did go past the summer, and it didn't get finished until closer to, I think, November. So, okay, in looking at this with other data members and with the leadership, Dr. Ostash in 2021 made $173,000 according to openpayroll.com. Dr. Moore came in and was given a significant increase. Great, you know, that is something that we can expect. However, if we're having to pass a bond to improve our facilities, we want our students to have the facilities and tools to be successful learners. But if we need to pass a bond to be able to do these things, and if we in the unions have been told we don't have the money to reduce our large secondary, especially class sizes, which is a major barrier to student success, and CSA is being told that there's not money for them for raises, and many of them are not able to make a living on their salaries. I'm just curious on how we have the money in the general fund to pay for this. This has nothing to do with job performance. Absolutely not. This is just regarding district finances. That's a big difference between $173,000 to almost a $250,000 in just a few years, which is depleting our accounts already compared to what we had for funds. And we know the COLA wasn't great. We know we didn't get as much money this year. So I'm just concerned that this would be setting up a sustainable practice for Sierra Sands. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Hello, Brandy Kean is my name. Thank you for being here this evening and just being open and willing to listen. Mr. Rockwell, I wanted to just kind of clarify some maybe understanding on my part when, and maybe with the union too. I feel like when we negotiated as teachers for the 23-24, like this school year, where when we got the 8% on schedule. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. And we had started doing that negotiating in the 22-23 school year. I'm getting head nods. Okay. So I would argue that when Dr. Ostash left and we were hiring a new candidate, that pay increase was 17.5% when, and not that it wasn't warranted, but that rate, I'm not going to call it a raise, that increase was 17.5% on the same year that we negotiated 8% on schedule and 2% off. So when that was negotiated, it's my feeling that that 10% was included in addition to 7.5% to make that total of 17.5% when there was a changing of the guard. So then that 10% bonus on top of that, while it sounds like teachers got 8% on schedule and 2% off schedule, I'd argue that the 17.5% was the 10 plus 7.5 more. So I just wanted, I don't know, are you gonna go vote item by item this evening, like each?
No, the motion is to approve the amendment.
The entire
Yes.
amendment? Okay. I just encourage you as people are here this evening, I know that my limited amount of knowledge on how the process works, like you evaluate, you come up with a package, you meet together, and I don't know, somewhere. Decide what you think is fair. I think it's a different than with the teachers union because we keep coming to the board meeting, we talk, the community knows, right? This is kind of the community's first exposure to this. And I know when you come, it's really like I'm assuming already if you've brought this package forward that this is what you're prepared to vote on. But I encourage you just to listen to the community, perhaps think about that maybe it's a time to go back to the table, be a little more conservative, and really just be mindful of that. So thank you for listening. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Felicia Field. I too was kind of a little bit shocked by those numbers. In a 12-month period, that will have been an increase of 28% in the salary based on what it was over the year, plus that additional $22,000. Like, that's a lot of money. Like, we got our 10%, which was our 8 on, 2 off, which is pennies compared. But I think, to vote yes on this, there needs to be something a little more conservative, I feel. We're a smaller district with great needs, and I just encourage you to kind of go back to that bargaining table and come back with a more reasonable alternative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Williams. We heard this on Facebook, and Jennifer said I want to go down in the meeting and talk or whatever, but I did some quick research, and the average salary in Southern California for a superintendent is between $250,000 to about $500,000. So we're well within that range. So I think people should be getting paid for what they do and should be within our average. I don't think you should be punished to come to Ridgecrest. But I would say that if you're looking at averages, and that's probably what you operated within, that you need to look at like the principal's salaries and the district level salaries, and look at that and see because we're really below in that. We have CSEA workers and support staff. They're making less than you can make at a fast food place. Not to discredit someone at a fast food place, but it's just not. I just think these are people working with kids, and so it's almost like I would like to hear some kind of public expression from the board, like, we're going to work on these other salaries. We're going to look at the support staff. We're going to look at the teacher staff, and we're going to see where because I could show you salary schedules where I'm below pay, and I know Mary and Robert were both teaching the district, and we could look at other districts around us, and we could see how much less we're making than other districts. And I think people don't know is that teachers, and I think administrators as well, when you move to another district, you're only given 8 to 10 years of credit. So when you make a commitment to a city, you're there. And if I decided to move to LA Unified, I think they might do year for year, but very few districts do that. When you move to another district, you don't get that credit. You get maybe 8 years, so you fall below on the salary schedule. So again, I think it's fine that you're paying somebody within the average
salary schedule. This is Southern California. It's expensive to live here. Maybe we get a break on our house prices, but a gallon of milk is still a gallon of milk anywhere in this state, and a gallon of gas or whatever. So I just say, just look at that, because we have been below the average for other salaries. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Ferris, Superintendent Dr. Moore, members of the school board, and members of our amazing community. My name is Andrew Smosna. I'm here to speak on behalf of our dedicated staff, specifically our classified staff, regarding the proposed salary increase amendment that we're talking about. I've taught in our district now for 12 years. My own children attend the district. So with that being said, I'm passionate about, like a lot of us, what's happening in our education system currently in our community. But simply stated, this proposal is not necessarily wrong, it's the wrong timing. We have staff who are working multiple jobs, struggling to pay rent, wondering how they're going to afford groceries for their family. This is a harsh reality for many of our employees, and we are losing talented staff who either can't afford to stay or are simply not returning. Recruitment from that field is nearly impossible with those conditions. There are paras and other staff members who have dedicated 15, 20 years to this district. They have given their hearts and souls, and specifically to our students. But unfortunately, they're still struggling to make ends meet. I want to emphasize that this has nothing to do with Dr. Moore, anything like that, except more importantly about the message we are sending to our staff and the community. By approving this, we will do a few things. Optically, it'll appear as if you're ignoring the desperate needs of our people, likely drive even more staff away, and deepen the perception of mistrust between the community and the district and board. I'm all for people being compensated appropriately. However, it's fundamentally unjust and tone deaf to grant a substantial pay increase with this amendment at the top, while many of those who keep our schools running are struggling to survive. By accepting this, you're choosing to put money into the pocket where many of our staff have empty pockets. It tells them that their financial struggles are irrelevant. Please prioritize the needs of our staff, who are the backbone of our schools, ensuring they can continue to support our students and community. To the board, I went to school with many of your children. Some of you were my teachers. I ask you one thing: listen to the people. Respectfully, make the right choice. Choose no. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jennifer Williams. I'm also a teacher for over 30 years here. And again, I agree with Andrew and Brian. There's nothing wrong with a comparable salary, and I think we all want that for our employees, but and it's funny that Andrew wrote about timing, because that was in my notes. I had timing. The timing just seems so, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the morale. I'm concerned about every day at our school site, there's not enough staff. There's principals in classrooms. We don't have enough paraprofessionals, and we just can't retain. We lost so many teachers this year. And I'm really concerned about the timing as well, and making sure that we're also building a strong relationship with our community. We have the legislation that Newsom passed last week, removing parental rights and authority that the board has. So, as we're trying to build this great community, I'm just wondering about this increase. How do we do it? How can we make the timing better, that everybody it considers the needs of everyone at somehow? How can we improve that timing? Because we all want comparable salaries, but just people are not happy with schools right now and stuff. There's a big group of people that aren't. So not to repeat anything, but I really agree with Andrew and Brian and the points that they're making. So thank you.
Do we have any other comments at this time?
Cheryl Rockmore. So I listened to a bunch of people talk, and they work here, they're teachers. I'm a parent, so I'm gonna get emotional. And you guys have wonderful staff, wonderful teachers, and you're losing teachers. They're going to work on base. It's just wrong timing. Don't lose more teachers, more great teachers, because you're giving raises and where I'm not saying they're not warranted either. I don't know. I'm just saying it's wrong timing. Like your paraprofessionals, the people that are hands-on with these kids. My daughter goes to school. She's an 8th grader. She's lost great teachers this year, and they went to the base. Don't continue to lose good teachers. Paraprofessionals, people who have hands-on with our kids. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, I'm Amanda.
And your last name, Amanda?
Metz.
Thank you.
I'm a parent. So one thing I want to make note of is that you guys prioritize retention. In order to retain great teachers, you have to retain a great support staff behind them. You have the first 8, okay, the first 8 scale on the salary schedule, all making $16 an hour right now. Everybody, a para 1, para 2, para 3. We're focusing on giving the superintendent who you would like to retain her, and I'm not saying you don't deserve a great wage for being a superintendent. You have to retain a good support staff. So when are you guys gonna make the difference for them? When is a para 2 and a para 3 gonna make more than a para 1? When is a para 1 gonna get a raise before 4 years in the district? That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time from the public? Any other comments or questions from board members at this time? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, it's all right.
I am here because I'm a parent. My name is Katie Portillo. And I am here, we moved to Ridgecrest in 2021, and it is apparent that the schools need a lot of help. And the teachers are, number one, they are very important. Luckily, we have the support at home and, the money to invest in our son's education. But with everything that is going on, we have seriously been considering homeschooling. And I know that we are not the only parents in this community that are considering homeschooling and that are already homeschooling because the schools are just not, keeping up with our students. We are in a different time now, and our students are already very smart, very, ready to be at school, but they just don't have the support, and especially when the morale is not there, the kids are showing up and they're having to inspire each other. I remember a time where we would go to school and we were inspired by our teachers and we were excited to learn. And, I was very privileged to get a text message from a parent saying, hey, thank you because your student encouraged my student to do better this year. And it's sad that we're not hearing that, our teachers are, encouraging, and it's not because they're not awesome teachers, but they just don't have the support, the things that they need in class to be able to do this for the students. We're having to bring in supplies every year from our pockets. I don't remember doing that when I was a child. And I mean, I'm 34, and I don't feel like that was a really long time ago, So I do think that it should be, reconsidered. And like they said, it's just not the time right now. Our students need more programs. A lot of kids are falling behind with reading, and it's not fair that the teachers are not, always there because they're worried about their finances or whatever is going on because they can't, support their life. So I would really, appreciate it if you guys would reconsider this and think about doing it at another time. as a parent, like I said, you know, it's very important for me, my son's education, and I am considering homeschooling, and I know a lot of the people in this community, we're out there and we're talking, and we're trying to build a community of homeschooling because it's just not enough here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brittany DeRuse. I've been with the school district for a few years now, and I think it's amazing that you are putting yourself out there and you want to do so many great things for the school district. But I agree with all the other people who are on the bottom of the totem pole with the school district. I think it's a really great place for us to work. I have a 19-year-old son who graduated high school last year, and I think it's really sad that he's making more than I am an hour. So to see the paras who are hands-on, who physically get abused by these students, and it's not saying there's fault at the parents, you can't control what your kids are gonna do, but seeing them make so little compared to a 19-year-old fresh out of high school, it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts. And I think that there needs to be a lot of reevaluations for all of the staff members, not just you, everybody across the board, because I think it's really important. Things aren't like they were when we were in school. The discipline isn't the same, the curriculum isn't the same, and I just think that there's a lot of other focuses that need to be worked on right now instead of giving out a bunch of bonuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on this issue at this time?
Hello, board members and Dr. Moore. My name is Tyler Witter. I'm a custodian at Burroughs. And I would just like to point out that to maybe some of the people here that don't know, paraprofessionals, they start out 8 stages lower than the step that I start out at. And I'm 3 steps in, 3 years in. I make $18.90 an hour. Before taxes, I make $36,000. After taxes, I make about $23,000, $24,000, the amount you're gonna get a raise for. Do you really feel like that's a fair amount for you to get a raise for when the people at the bottom are making that much in an entire year to survive off of?
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on this issue at this time? Any board members want to make any comments or remarks at this time? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say, oh, I'm sorry, did you, Mary, go ahead.
I'm new, fairly new, and coming up with these issues. I don't know, how would we proceed with this? What are we voting on? What are we doing? I mean, you know what I mean?
So to make sure you understand what we are actually voting on, so the board used the evaluation process.
Right.
We conferred with the superintendent. We agreed on a series of amendments to the contract, and this vote is to authorize that agreement that we conferred and concluded on. So your vote will be either to authorize or to not authorize what was discussed.
It's not that I don't want to have the disrespect for all that you have done and what we're looking at in the future for our kids, and I mean, I'm kind of weighing the whole thing, and I don't understand. As I do understand, but I'm just thinking, like they said, it is the timing, and it is kind of true. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because I do feel that times are tough for everyone, and I just want to know, like, is this the final step?
So if you,
or do we still have more steps to do?
This is the final step on this particular issue. As far as the timing is concerned, I can tell you the timing is dictated by the employment in the original contract, and we agreed in the contract to evaluate within a year. The discussion that was had on the amendments to the contract were based on the evaluation that we did annually, which is the process, and so that defined the timing, if that's what you're wanting to understand.
I do remember going through the process and everything. I don't know, I don't know, because I feel it's both way. I mean, we have to do kind of weigh things out a little. I mean, and I don't know what I'm saying yea or nay to at this point. And I, when we did do the evaluation, why is this thing popping so much?
I think if you'll move closer to the microphone when you speak,
Oh, okay. Closer?
they won't turn it up so high.
Is that
There you
better?
go. There.
And I mean, the amount of work that Dr. Moore puts in is like, I don't even know when she sleeps, honestly. And there is so many ideas and just wonderful ideas that's gonna come out to our community and the children. I'm getting that, I understand that, and you have to be compensated for that, because there's a ton of people under you as well that you have to govern and deal with, and I remember doing the steps, and it seemed right at the time, but now that things are coming, not aggressively either, when just talking, just communicating, which is good. I see both ways, I do, because April, she does, seriously, I really don't when she sleeps, because there's so many ideas that she's bringing to this district just in 1 year. I've already seen like so many classes coming and music coming and all the things that they took away, and now it's starting to slowly come back.
So I just wanted
Yeah,
to caution you a little bit.
Yeah,
I know, like you say, you're new. It's okay to talk about process, and it's okay to talk about the concepts of how we operate, but this is a personnel issue, so you need to be really careful about what your comments are related to specifically to performance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
So.
Sort of.
So. We can talk about process, and we can talk about our concerns and about the empathy we have for what was shared with us tonight, and the difficulty of the timing, and understanding all that, and how that troubles you. That's certainly appropriate to share.
Yeah, so in the future we'll get the timing.
But the evaluation was a closed session item because it was a personnel item, and that isn't shareable at the open meeting.
Oh, okay, well, the things that she's doing for the school, that's open.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you were fine so far? It's just,
guess.
you have to be really careful that you don't get into.
Well, like I said, I mean, I feel, because I was out there, I was in the trenches, and maybe I felt lucky because it was a two-income household, if you will, and so I just love teaching, and.
It's a yes or no.
It's what?
It's a yes or no question.
For him or you?
For her, for all of you on board to decide this.
Well, we came up with this decision, and there's still going to be things moving forward.
Yeah, but this is the final.
Pardon me, pardon me, Mary is speaking. If you wish to address the board, you're welcome to come up, and I'll recognize you and you can speak. But right now, Mary is speaking, and she has the floor. Thank you.
I just want to say that I do understand what is going on. And you shake your head, but I do. And I also see the hard work that's going on to make things happen. And not maybe, things will collide and come in sync. That's our hope, right? That's going to be our future for all of us here in Ridgecrest. Oh, yeah, well, I'm just, okay, I'm done.
I don't want to cut you
guess.
short.
I don't know.
I wanted
I'm
to
just
share you-
saying that I do understand both sides.
Sure. That's, That's a
in
that's a
this
fair assessment.
particular, in this particular, agenda or item.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Any other? Kurt?
Yeah, just a couple things, I guess, a couple thoughts. I am not at all happy, especially with the, you know, the salary schedule for our paras and the folks in that end of the spectrum. I think we really do need to redouble our efforts to try to figure out a way to raise that up to something that's a little more helpful every day. And I think that goes across the board. I mean, I don't think any of us up here, you know, think that anybody's getting paid enough in teaching in schools these days. And I think we do need to do everything we can to try to, you know, raise that tide. I think that's a different question than whether we appropriately compensate our superintendent or not. And the math doesn't bear out the fact that this action that we're talking about right now would have any impact, appreciable impact to salary schedules across the district if we just said no to this. So I don't think it's a either or thing. I think what we have done here, based on the job that Dr. Moore has been doing, the job we anticipate that she will do, the other superintendents of similar districts and what they make in our area, and a lot of other data indicate to me that what's in here is fair. And that doesn't change the fact that we need to redouble our efforts to try to help move the tide here for everybody else as well.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Yes, sir, if you'd like to speak again.
Tyler, we're from Custodian at Burroughs. I'd just like to respond to your comments, Mr. Rockwell, on looking around at the areas to find comparing the areas to see what's a fair salary for her is what you guys are doing. I kind of think you should look around at the other counties around us at the salaries that the bottom employees are making, because it's a lot more than what we are making currently. And that's just the only point that I would like to address of your comments.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Andrew Smosna. So I think you bring up a really good point. I think many understand that it's not an either or. I mean, there's some really complicated financial components to the raise or increase in what you guys are talking about. I think what I really want to highlight is many people understand that, but there's a perception component to this. I'm not saying somebody doesn't need to be compensated more. A lot of people understand some should be. That's not the conversation in my eyes. Are we going to drive a divide because of how this is going to look? There's a big perception to the way that this is appearing. If it's approved, what people will see, especially, I'll say classified, is here's this person who's already making a lot of money. I'm not making any, not talking about raising anything else. There's a perception. If you say yes, again, you're going to drive a wedge between the people who are currently working with us, okay? That's what I'm asking you to consider. It has nothing to do with anybody specifically. It's not either or. Think of the people. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from board members at this time? Any other comments or questions from members of the public?
I'm going to agree with Andrew again.
Please, from the microphone, please.
I'm just going to agree with Andrew because we want to see our district be so successful. And I was on the Measure C when all that was going, we were so close to passing that and worked so hard. And I'm, fully support of the bond, but I'm just like, I feel like it's just putting gonna kill it. It's just gonna kill it because the morale, the division it causes, and the timing. So I just keep thinking of a solution. How can we still, we want to honor, our superintendent's work and everything, but how can we just align the timing so that everything is, we have that synergy, that everything happens, that it can pass the bond measure, everyone wins, right? So that's, like Andrew and Brian, that's it, just the timing, strategic. How can we be more strategic with that and really bring people together? Because I'm looking at these goals as I'm sitting there. How do we do that? How do we do that? So anyways.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandon. I'm a head custodian at Burroughs. I think it's
Last
not
name,
that-
Brandon, I'm sorry.
Hoffman.
Thank you.
I think it's not that, like, we don't want you to get yours. Like, of course, you know, we want all you guys to be millionaires. How do we get ours?
We're in the wrong business for that.
Well, I mean, but how do we get our bonuses? Who negotiate? That's all I hear, but nothing ever happens. Maybe we get $1. My bonus was $400, and that's my gas bill, basically, so. Yeah, would you guys be willing to help classified, you know, a little more? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Genevieve Stanton. I've lived in Ridgecrest since 2022, and I am from Tehachapi, California. Over the summer, I have looked at other I am a paraprofessional here at the district. I've looked at other paraprofessional jobs that are being offered within California as far as Ventura County and the Tehachapi School District. In the Ventura County, they're offering paraprofessionals that are in my exact position $5 more per hour. And then in Tehachapi, they are offering $2 more per hour just for substitute para positions. During my time at the school district, the little accomplishments have kept me there. My rent is $1,200 a month, and I don't have a kitchen. I make $16.25 an hour, and I'm also have a position at a nonprofit in town that I have had to do because I want to help the community. I had an unfortunate situation where I was at a candlelight visual for a student of Burroughs High School that got hit on her scooter. Her mother was my supervisor at the nonprofit, and because she also was a student at the school district, I felt I needed to be there to support. My vehicle was in a 3-car accident at the visual, and it has been so hard to come to a conclusion of staying with the Sierra Sands School District other than I want to help them. I do not have a 2-income household. I would like to come up and to beg the people on the board to please reconsider their positions on this, on this. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak at this time? Any other board members wish to speak at this time? I will call for the vote. All in favor say aye. 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 All opposed? If you wish to abstain, you can abstain. Okay. Let the record show it was 4 yeses and 1 abstention. That brings us to motion carried. That brings us to item 9.1, approval of resolution number 3/2425 regarding election specifications. Dr. Moore.
Thank you. As you know, we have the November 5th election coming up, and with our shift to by-trustee area elections, the San Bernardino County Registrar of Voters has asked us to approve this resolution, just making it clear the order of operations. So we know we are by-trustee area. This resolution simply outlines the same information we had
in our previous resolution, shifting to by trustee areas and specifically asking for that in the consolidated November election. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move the recommended action.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from members on the board on this issue? Any questions from members of the public on this issue or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Item 2, appointment of student member to the Board of Education for the 24-25 school year.
Yes, this is a fun topic. We all know Brody Zaid, as he was our student board member last year as a junior, an 11th grader at Burroughs. And in that time, we changed our bylaws to update it to legislation that requires a different process for our students to be selected. Brody had such a great time with us last year, and even though the process is changing, he chose to put his name in the running as a nominee from Burroughs, and he did win the election of his peers, and that makes him eligible to be our student board member his senior year at Burroughs. He wanted to be here with us this evening, but he is at journalism camp conference and would plan to join us next month on the dais as our student member.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members on this item? I guess I want to comment. I know that the laws have changed somewhat, and the job is going to be a little different for him than it was before. And I think it might be helpful for all of us if we had some kind of a review of exactly what the nature of his position will be, so that we can know and respect that position and make sure we include him in the way it needs to be included as this position has changed. I think also I would like to see us maybe explore. I noticed in offered training from CSBA, there were several different student school board member trainings available, and if his responsibilities are going to increase, I think it would be wise to have him trained in exactly what those responsibilities are, and also at the same time he can educate us as well, because I will be very honest, I'm not sure I understand exactly what that really means. So I'm hoping we can have that discussion in the near future so we can all be on the same page moving forward.
Would you like us to agendize that at our next board meeting?
I think I would like to, if I have consensus on the board on that, if we're all thinking that would be helpful.
Great.
As for I'm thrilled that Brody's doing this. I'm also thrilled that he's taking journalism training. I think those all mesh very well, so that's great. Any other questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 3, discussion and possible action for board and superintendent to participate in the Masters in Governance training.
Yes, at our recent board governance team self-evaluation process, the conversation about the Masters in Governance training came up again, and we certainly have had an interest in participating in that as a governance team. That has been the practice of this board over time, and it has been a little bit more challenging recently since CSBA is no longer hosting the training in Bakersfield. So what we have for you this evening, and I know you've all had a chance to read the header, but you have the breakdown of cost and the options should we choose to go in person to the training in Ventura. The dates are also provided there, and or if we choose to stay here and do it virtually together. It's of course a different dynamic than interacting with others and moving about and with printed materials versus virtual. And the virtual training, they have 3 cohorts throughout the year, so fall, winter, and spring, whereas the in-person training, they seem to add throughout the year, but they don't necessarily advertise those cohorts in advance. So we do know the fall in-person training in Ventura dates, and then I have heard subsequently that some of those dates may have provided a conflict, so it's something to discuss. And I think there was also a conversation about just the election process and all of that. So just opening this up for discussion and happy to engage. I do have a few more details from CSBA if those are helpful.
So if board members would like to share their thoughts on this issue and what their concerned interest and/or conflicts might be based on what you've been presented. I will just share with you, I do have a, let me share this. I believe the in-person interactive with other board members from across the state is the most powerful version of this. I think what is gained from understanding and being exposed to a broader environment of how school boards operate is very powerful for the team. I believe that being in person as a team in that environment has a really strong benefit for us as a team. Having said that, I have a personal conflict on the September date is the same date as the California School Boards Association board meeting. Yes. So I would, if other people don't have conflicts and that is the direction we wish to go, I would certainly be willing to entertain missing that specific board meeting. We only meet 7 times a year, so it's kind of a big miss if you do. But I think this is important enough that I would be willing to do that if everything else is in order for the rest of the board. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think you get more out of the in-person, and half of us have been through this before, and I know this is a lot of time and effort on our part to go again, but I think it's important as a team, and the value we get by going as a team and meeting with the other, because a lot of it's group activities with other board members, so normally they split us on up and you're getting different perspectives. So I agree with you. I would rather see, whether it's this or another one, the in-person. I just don't get the value out of the video conferencing that you do the in-person.
Can I ask this, do other people have any conflicts with the dates if we decided this would be the one that would be the most effective for us? Is everybody able to commit to those dates?
Pretty much. I had a slight conflict, but nothing I can't work out. You know that.
Yeah, I think that's an important question, because I think we all need to commit to this or it's not necessarily worth doing. So I think I'm good. Last I looked at all those dates.
There is another element that I think may or may not influence this specific decision, but if you have some conflicts and I have a conflict.
Nothing can work.
Okay.
It would just be one long day.
The other issue that I think could cloud this is we do have an election between now and then. If there's a change in the board membership, then you would want to have full participation. So gaining that commitment from any new board members might be a different challenge. Part of my question is, do we have any understanding of when the next opportunity might be available to us? And is there value in considering waiting till the next round? Or do we feel like at this point we've waited long enough, we need to move ahead?
If I recall correctly, CSBA added a cohort in the spring this past year. I didn't have a lot of advance notice, so it's like, I don't know that they do that every spring, but there was a new cohort based on interest. So if the board wanted to wait until spring, I could certainly relay our interest of 6 members to a spring cohort in this vicinity, should that become possible.
So I just introduced that as a discussion point. I know to me that there's some value in, okay, we keep not doing this and keep not doing it, so we need to lock it down. But with the variables we're talking about, is the spring too late? Do we feel like that?
When's our meeting in August?
15 and 16.
What day?
Our August
15
meeting?
and 16.
15, 16?
Oh, I'm sorry, in August.
23, 24.
I'm sorry, 23.
No. When's our actual board
The
meeting?
board meeting is on the 15th of
On
August.
the 15th?
Yeah.
I mean, we could postpone this till then.
I think that might have value.
Yes, and it'd give us a better
Yeah.
idea possibly,
Yeah.
and look at those the only thing is, if we choose to do it.
You're right, turn around right away.
Well, we're just gonna have to keep that 23rd and 24th.
Right.
On the front burner.
So can we get just a straw poll that everybody's willing to commit to those days if by on the 15th we feel like it's the thing to do?
Do we need to actually reserve space with CSBA before the 15th?
So they've given us a 5-day withdrawal period. And so we could potentially, let's say on the 10th or the 11th, call in and tentatively hold and then give ourselves time to release. What we would do is get the hotel rooms tentatively, as long as there is a withdrawal, you know, for those, we should be within any kind of a withdrawal period at
3 days,
no
yeah.
cost. So we can certainly do those, and then, I don't know how full they are or are not, but we could tentatively.
Does that sound like a reasonable solution, everybody?
I think so, and I'm not waiting to spring. I mean, we've got this same issue every 2 years,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, we either,
Yeah.
we could put it off every 2 years, but we.
Yeah, okay. Then I think that gives
Did
us.
you say August?
We don't need a motion, right? No.
We'll bring this back for action next month.
Okay. In the meantime, you'll do some legwork to make sure we have the option.
Mr. Ferris?
Yes.
And if possible, we always have a special lunch meeting or something if it got to the point where we need to make a
Sure.
decision.
Sure.
Sooner, so there's an option there.
Yeah, okay.
I guess my question would be, what, if we made a decision now, that would allow staff to, you know, get things laid out with plenty of time, and if it turned out that we couldn't do it, and we determined that anytime between now and then, we could.
But you only have 5 days to cancel, so we have to do. that within-
CSBA would allow us to transfer the registration to a future event, but they would not refund our money if we did get the registration now. They only give us a 5 days to get our refund. Other than that, we still pay, but they would carry it forward to a future event.
So is it 5 days from when we
Call it in,
register,
yes.
not 5 days ahead of the event?
Right.
Oh, are you sure? Oh, that's not how it read to me. Okay. So up until 5 days before the 23rd, we can withdraw. Oh, okay. I was
So then
reading
I
it
would
differently.
move that we make the reservation, review it on the 15th for a final approval. Does that make sense? Is everybody on the same page on that?
Move recommended action. That recommendation.
Any other further discussion?
You're talking August?
Well, the August 15th, we'll make the final go-ahead or pull the plug.
But the plan is all these dates.
But please put all these dates in your calendar. Okay, any questions or comments from members of the public on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 10.1, report to the board on construction activities and issues. Mr. Moore.
President Ferris, am I on?
You're on.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, members of the community. I am Jeff Moore, Facilities Director with the district, and I'll use this time to show you some updates regarding our construction in the district. I'll touch on Richmond, both the new and old campuses, Las Flores and Fowler, and some of the summer projects we've done. Richmond Elementary School construction. First, the electric power switch panel continues to be on back order. I couldn't take a picture of it, so this is my workstation in my home office. I thought I'd put that up there. In the real world, we have confirmation that we're still on task. They actually gave us a date a couple days ago. They're going to ship it, they expect, on November 15th. They expect. However, it doesn't ship to us. It ships to Texas so they can finish the assembly of it, and then they ship it to us. So we'll probably get this about in December. I was hoping we could declare by Thanksgiving, but if it's shipping to Texas first for assembly and then to us, we're pushing that back a little bit. when we receive that, that means we'll be able to light up the power there, complete inspections and testing on power systems throughout the campus. We're pressing for the rest of the campus to be as ready as possible without it, and it's impossible to guarantee the timeline. And so I'm here telling you I just don't know yet. The people that do know don't know, and they don't know how to commit to it yet. Meanwhile, the good news is that while we're in a waiting period, we're not waiting at all. There are so many infrastructure things going on with the construction, including, this is a brand new roof, for example. And so Randy Coit and I were on the roof with the roofing manufacturer, the roofing installing company, and you can see our architect there in the yellow vest. We're saying, no, it's not good enough. We've got a brand new school here. We want a brand new roof. Let's take care of business. And so you can see in the bottom middle, there are already creases in some of the areas. So we are being ticky-tacky and nagging them because we're building a new facility. We want a new facility. And so we've got a little bit of wiggle room to tell them, get to work. We've got the time, take care of it. That's what we're doing with some of the margin that we've created with this waiting for the switchgear. For example, painting. Well, these are beautiful colors, but they don't go together. The school theme is the bluish color, and so that's what's going to be repainted and taken care of, which I was glad because the lighter taupe, tan, whatever you call it, color, you could see blotches through it. The blue was much better, so we're going with the blue. You saw this on Facebook, didn't you? Buses. Although it was technically correct in some places, it's not correct in our school district or basically anywhere in the United States, so we got it fixed. And it says buses with one S, another one of those things we're able to take care of right away.
So I have a friend whose last name is Bussy, B-U-S-S-E, and he was impressed that we were taking care of him specifically at this at this facility.
Break it to him gently, we changed it back. The old Richmond facility, part of getting the money to build a new facility included us demolishing the old one. Hazardous abatement is part of that. We can't just tear the thing down because what was normal way back when, we know better than to touch it now. When you can't hire just a company to knock it down and risk the dust going into the community. So we hired a qualified company that literally tapes the rooms and buildings shut, puts a negative vacuum on it, and for lack of better description, uses a HEPA filter after they wet the whole place down so that nothing gets into the air anymore. They seal it. What they don't seal, they literally vacuum out with microscopic particle removal. After the abatement is complete, the inspector will sign off on it and then demolition can go forward. So step by safe step, Old Richmond is going away. Some fun things I get to point out. Las Flores. Want a smile from Principal Sir. Okay, Las Flores Modular Classroom project is going great. The forms and rebar cages are there to be put in so that we can have, as you see in the top right-hand corner, the modular is in place already, but the doors have a 3-foot gap between it and the floor. That's because we're putting in the ramps necessary for ADA compliance and that type of thing. These are for the little kiddos. You can see down in the bottom left how we lift that in. The gap that's between the two buildings, that's going to have fascia on it. If I were a 6-year-old, I want to explore in between the buildings too. That's not going to happen. Let's look at Las Flores parking. It looks terrific now. It looks like a brand new facial on the front street. Really excited about that. Fowler also got another modular. You can see the concrete pad here I took the picture so you could see the pedestals. We literally put this modular on. Tic-tac-toe, there are 3 pieces we crane onto there and place them on the individual pad so that they can weld them onto the metal mounting brackets on the foundation, bolt them together, and set the infrastructure in place. You see how they're doing this? And there's the air conditioner that went on the top of the building. Here we can see how it looks seamless. Now these rebar, that's because all of that dirt around the modular, all that's going to be concrete. And so the infrastructure is in place. Right where the front of the picture is, there's actually a fence that's going in today. Actually, they were working on it. And they're pouring concrete Saturday. The contractor told me earlier today, Saturday morning, about 2 or 3 in the morning, they're going to start pouring because they need a certain amount of time for everything to cure. And I've been yelling at them to make sure we have enough time for the school teachers to move in and put their stuff in the right places so before the kids show up. So I am nice but mean to them. The Sierra Sands Unified School District Tech Department is second to none, and I'm not just saying that because they could mute me right now. They coordinate with the electrical contractor because when we were digging the hole to put this modular foundation in, we discovered something that wasn't on the current as-built plans. All the high and low voltage electrical went through something called a slurry vault that had to be completely removed, and replaced. And so our tech department is working with them for the high and low voltage, for the data cables, for the health and safety, the fire department connections, everything. All while we're doing the construction. It's gonna be close, but we're gonna finish and get out of there, and it's gonna happen. Okay, this is Fowler's parking lot. The top right, that was as of this morning, actually. So it looks just bright and cheerful, and they opened it up, and we're ready to go. Also, let's see. Yes, I have a good picture of the decorative fencing that goes up in front, that has gone up in front of Fowler. Now, it's just iron looking right now, but if you can see in the background, you see the little marquee sign, the red and white marquee sign. Yes, it does say that was 6:32 this morning and 88 degrees. We haven't painted the fence yet, obviously, but the blue frame on that sign is the color that the fencing is going to be, so it's just going to pop. It's really going to look terrific. The way they'll do that, they'll electrify the fence and have this magical powder coating just adhere to the metal. It's going to look terrific. That's happening next week, so all the time frame is happening the way we had hoped. Some of the, look at this, please. See the lunch area at the top? This is where our youngest kids had lunch. And up till now, we hadn't had a barrier between them. If they decided to get up, teachers need to corral them back to the tables because there's the bus area and there's the street. We promised to provide these kids a healthy and safe environment, and this is SSUSD delivering on another promise. Okay, they're safe. They're safe, and that's what we wanted. Somebody say yes. Okay, here's an update on the bus yard because everybody's always asking me about the bus yard. Yes, we've got a half a dozen buses. We got all those in place. The grand plan is to get 8 of them. We're doing another application for more grants so we can get a couple more buses. So we'll fill that up. The construction that I mentioned last month about some of the water that comes when we have the rain, those 2 days a year that we have in Ridgecrest, that's being fixed Wednesday. The contractor will be out there taking care of that. A lot of things happen below the surface. We don't see some of the things, but for all of us that are visually stimulated, we got a brand new scoreboard down at Burroughs. That's a good time to applaud. Okay. Well, look, some of the projects that we do go without any fanfare. We got irrigation additions that happen because the students were on campus. We could take care of some of the bigger jobs. The CTE building's water damage, removing a couple of trees. We don't like to remove trees, but when a tree has a disease that's going to pass to the next tree, we take the tree out. When a tree has been damaged so much from the wind that it's a danger to the students, we take the tree out. These are things we can do while the students have been gone during summer break. Remember the James Monroe septic surprise we had last month? Well, the picture on the right is we're finished with that. So we can kick that can 30 years down the road and not have to worry about it. Pierce, here's something we were able to do while the kids weren't there. Look at how beautiful that playground is. Now, what I love is it's not a rubberized playground floor next to the sandbox because you can take the sand and ruin the rubberized flooring. This has concrete all around it too, so it's going to last a lot longer, but Pierce has a beautiful setup. I went out to Inyo Kern and saw what they've got going too, and brand new parking lot set up as well, so that went forward. And in conclusion, okay, we've gotten a lot done. Our team, our maintenance and operation team is reminding me, never have so few done so much. So they're really amazing. They really are pulling together, and they're sweating. So if you see 2 of them under a shade tree, give them a break for a minute. I really mean this, please. They're not loitering. I know what they're doing. Shay knows what they're doing. But they need to take a breath. I don't want anybody passing out in the 118-degree weather while they're fixing our schools. Now that I'm getting my sea legs as the facilities director, I'm coming up with some ideas. I've been shooting them past my assistant superintendent, Pam, and Randy, and Shane, And some of the ideas, oh, we already did this, maybe we'll implement something like that. I'm gonna be able to, over the next year, come with some better ideas on how we can more effectively implement, optimize what we've got to work with. That's the construction update for this month. Thank you, President Ferris, board members, Superintendent Moore, and everybody for giving me 10 minutes to tell you what's going on. Do you have any questions?
Any questions or clarifications from the board? Any questions or clarifications from the public, staff? Thank you, Mr. Moore. That brings us to item 2, approval of resolution number 1, 2425, ratifying change order request to complete electrical work for the TK classroom at Fowler Elementary School. Ms. Smith.
Hello. Mr. Moore referenced the electrical issue that we had at Fowler when they had to move the vault. And what this resolution does is allows the district to award that work to AC Electric without competitively bidding it, because that was financially beneficial to the district, and authorized us to allow the additional work to proceed prior to this board approval in order to complete the project in time for the 24-25 school year. The estimated cost of that change order is $111,761. Funding would be funded out of Fund 25 developer fees, and it's recommended that you approve resolution number 1, 2425, ratifying the change order with AC Electric to complete that electrical work at Fowler as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions of Ms. Moore? The board, any questions from the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to 11, no, not 11.1. We've already done 11.1. That brings us to item 12, the temporary adjournment of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education so we can convene the meeting of the Indian Schools Financing Authority. The only item on that agenda was the approval of the minutes, so if those are not contested, they will stand as presented. We will adjourn the meeting of the Indian Schools Financing Authority and reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education and move to the consent calendar.
Move the entire consent calendar.
Second. We have a motion to move the entire consent calendar. Are there any questions or comments on any items on the consent calendar? Any questions or comments from the public on the consent calendar? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Any call for future agenda items? I think we already discussed one. Anything else that anybody feels like we need to address? All right. Then thank you everyone for coming tonight. Appreciate your participation in the process. We will now adjourn.